Welcome again to another rendition of WTF Interviews. My name is Sir Royce Briales, and I'm with my prestigious co-host, Dr. Raheem Young. How's it going, brother?
I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Trying to keep the icicles on my beard. It's getting kind of chilly out here in Chicago, man, but we are bearing through it like we always do.
So,
yeah. Also, we're pleased to announce we have a special guest, Lornett Vestal. How's it going, brother?
Hey, how's it going, Royce? How's it going, Raheem? Pleasure and honor to be invited.
Yeah, no problem. So we kind of talked during the pregame about your fatherhood experience, your unclehood experience. Tell us a little bit more about being an uncle, and also what do you do for a purpose or a living?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's a purpose, but it's kind of I guess it's kind of like a passion. But I'm a social worker. In the last several years, I've been working with veterans, taking them outdoors, connecting with nature. So kind of like outdoor recreational therapy is a bit of my occupation. It is my occupation for the most part, but more policy work. So I'm not doing direct social work anymore. So it's kind of a combination of multiple things. So policy work, programming, along with the recreational therapy piece. So I just say I take veterans on outdoor adventures. And my experience is being an uncle. I've been an uncle since I was 2. So yeah, so you know how those families be. So some of my oldest nieces and nephews are more like cousins than nieces and nephews. The younger ones, yes, I'm more of an uncle to them because I'm like 10, 15, 20, 30 years older than them. But the older ones, they don't even call me Uncle Lornett. They just Lornett.
Right, I was just gonna ask you, did they call you uncle? No?
Oh, not the older ones. No, I'm just Lornett to them. They got kids and stuff. I got great nieces and nephews. They call me Uncle Lornett, but my older ones, we grew up together, so they're like, no, you just Lornett. You like our cousin. You like an honorary plate brother. Like, no. Y'all don't talk to y'all mama the way I talk to her because she's my sister. She ain't my mama. I gotta check my sister sometimes too, my oldest sister, because since she has children only a couple years younger than me, she'll start treating me like I'm her son, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm not your son, right? I'm your brother. So, I know you got kids that's grown, but me and you both got the same mama, so I ain't your son, I'm your brother.
Nah, that's pretty cool, man. Like how I guess how was that growing up? With your nieces and nephews were more like your brothers and sisters?
Well, they're more like cousins.
Like cousins.
Yeah. So, we lived on the west side. And since I still was one of the older kids around, I looked out for them and stuff like that. But it's just family, a lot of stuff, trash talking, play fights, crazy stuff like that. Just struggling on the west side of Chicago.
So how did you get involved with like working with veterans? Are you a veteran?
Yeah, I am a Navy veteran. I served from 2001 to 2005. I was in the Navy, and I was stationed in San Diego, California. I was on a ship called the USS Cleveland. Out of it, I think they decommissioned it. So either it's a museum right now, or it's a coral reef for some fishes. So one or the other. And that's kind of how when I got out, part of my journey through social work was kind of wanting to work with veterans again, because not every veteran, but some veterans face struggles once they get out, the transition. Even for me going to school, I mean, even though I was 22 at the time, and I was kind of, my experience was different in twofold. I didn't go to a HBCU. So most of my college was Northern Illinois University, and it was predominantly a white school. So it's kind of double whammy because you had a bunch of, Midwestern white kids from the suburbs that went to that school. And on top of that, I was a veteran. So I had a different real world experience compared to my peers my first year there. Because some of them were like, yeah, mommy and daddy did everything for me. And it's like,
You said this is at Northern?
yeah. And I was like, not only have I been on my own since I was 17, I'd been to, been to a war zone and everything like that. So even though I was only like, 4 years older than most of my peers starting at NIU, I had a world of a different experience from them. So I can only imagine what it's like for people who are 10 years older or 15 years older, 20 years older, going back to college, and you're in a class of 18-year-olds. Not to say that, 18-year-olds are don't know anything or dumb or anything like that. Everybody has some intelligence. It's just that even now at 38, when I think back, my 20-year-old me, when I was in the service and just reading books and stuff, I thought I knew everything and how the world works. And I think back now, I was like, I didn't know shit. I don't know if we curse on this podcast, but I didn't know
Good,
stuff.
man. It's
Okay.
a mature audience.
All right.
So you mentioned going from two different environments. So basically from, where you were growing up to college, it was two very different, environments. So did you have any culture shock going from one to the other?
So I would say the biggest culture shock was actually coming from Southside Chicago, growing up there, lived there my whole life. Going then to the Navy, getting stationed in San Diego, California, because they're two different cities. The only thing they got in common is that they technically are on the coast, except, Chicago's on the coast of Lake Michigan and San Diego's on the coast of the Pacific Ocean. Two very different things. But, Chicago is pretty segregated. San Diego is sort of segregated, but a little more diverse. A lot of military personnel there. So if you ever go back and you see guys with the haircuts, you point them out. I can point them out. They got the shirts tucked in. Yeah. You're definitely in the military.
Where'd you serve?
Yeah. Basically, you go to them and be like, oh, I know you guys are a bunch of Marines or like sailors, and I know the look. Still got the razor cuts and stuff like that. So that was the biggest culture shock. Just how different the climate, the people were. I mean, it was very mixed up. California, especially in Southern California, you meet people who, I think everybody's getting with everybody. So you meet people who are like, my daddy's Japanese and black, and my mom's Irish and Italian, and you're like, oh, okay, I don't know what you are, all that stuff. And then it's a lot more, a lot of Asians in that over on the West Coast. So yeah, that a lot more Mexicans, less black people because it's California. So very different from Chicago in that way. Because Chicago, half of it is a chocolate city, the South Side and the West Side. I mean, I know it was gentrifying. It was gentrifying. Last time I went out there in 2018, it was white people hanging out in Maywood. I'm like, y'all in Fred Hampton old neighborhood. And the white people are over here. We're gonna reclaim it, and we're gonna do our own breakfast program and feed you all kale. Feed the little kids kale.
That's my neck of the woods, man. Maywood, Bellwood.
Yeah. They gentrifying your place, man. They coming out. They was coming out to South Shore too. They probably got out there already.
Yeah. I know there's a lot more Mexican families in Maywood now. I think that's probably like the majority of the population now in Maywood. Latino.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So can you talk about your relationship with your father?
Yeah. It's complicated to say the least.
Okay.
So I was adopted, so I have a biological father, and then also a father through adoption. I was adopted at 12 years old. I did reconnect with my biological family. It was kind of like on some Antoine Fisher stuff back when I was getting out the military. So reconnected with them. Actually, my mom in Chicago helped me reconnect with the family. And I only, as an adult, had a couple of encounters with my biological father. But my adopted father, it was kind of one of those things where he was hard on me, And then when I got older and kind of realized that my mom was really one pulling the strings, and he was just kind of like, I'm a married man, so I know how it goes. Your wife is like, hey,
He was
you
like
gotta
the
do this.
enforcer.
Huh?
He was the enforcer, but she was like really the
She was a
brains.
warden. He was the prison guard.
Yeah.
So, I, so I had some resentment, growing up and going to the Navy and stuff. And it was just like part of the reason was just like get away from him because he was always tough on me and stuff like that. And I just, I mean, we get along much better now that I'm older and stuff like that. So even during this whole pandemic and stuff like that, he had lost his job because his bus company that he drove for like 20 years went under. And I was helping out him and my mom since, obviously don't want to see your parents struggle and stuff like that, and they're getting older. So I think nowadays that's the most challenging thing. When I don't live in Chicago now, so I go back every couple of years from Atlanta. The pandemic put a hold on some things. So now when I go back, I'll see them and they'll be even older than what I remember versus like when you're there, you kind of can see them and you kind of realizing that I have friends whose parents have passed away, their mom and their dad. So I guess the older you get, you start thinking more about mortality. And it's very different from, when I was 18, 19, where, I just couldn't stand him and just thought he was kind of was a jerk. But I mean, he cared for me in his own way, but I got older and realized that it was really my mom kind of being that driving force. So I wonder if it was different, how that would be. But it left a strain. I mean, we get along now. Like I said, as an adult, much better. But as a teenager, yeah, I couldn't stand it.
Okay.
So I had a little side job working at Track Auto. I don't even have that store anymore. But he was the one who got me that job. He still works in the auto part industry too. So he had a buddy there, and he hired me on the spot, and I worked there. I think my last couple of years of high school, helped me pay for some stuff for prom and all this other stuff. I had nice fresh rented tux and everything. Mm-hmm. So it was ways like that he cared, but he was tough on me. I mean, I had to keep up on my chores and all this other stuff. And I had an older brother, and he kind of wasn't as tough on him as he was on me. So I think those kind of those things, like, I would like, why not treat us all the same? And that's how I felt at the time as a kid. I was like, I'm being singled out here, looking out for my little brothers and sisters. And it's like, oh, I'm in high school. I want to go out, have fun with my friends, go to the mall and all this type of stuff. And even when I did go out and stuff, I might forget to take out the trash when I go out. Then I come back and he all in my face, be like, oh, why don't you take out the trash? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I'm 15, man. I want to go see, the movie, the new Jet Li movie or whatnot. I'm trying to go to the mall, going to Evergreen Plaza. I'm trying to get my Mac
Jet
on.
Li in the Leah movie. That was out back.
Yeah. See fine ass Lee in the movie back in the day. So that's what I was on. But so it was challenging. It was challenging back then because I didn't like him. But as I got older, he busts his ass. He works every day, 7 days a week, even to this day. And when the pandemic started, he was going to work and he wasn't wearing PPE and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, you ain't in your 30s anymore, man. You pushing 60, man. So you gotta, the COVID to get you before it gets me, man. So you gotta, my mom and him finally convinced him. He started wearing his mask and stuff like that. Because I'm like, look, and he finally got the vaccine too. So happy for that. My mom did too. So they were hesitant, and I was like, look here, COVID will kill you before the vaccine will. But they had to catch COVID a couple times before they finally was like, and I'm still kind of in a recovery phase myself because I got the booster shot. So I was pretty under the weather. Still got a bit of a headache right now, but ibuprofen is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Can you, what was that experience like when you I know that you said that you reconnected with your biological family. So what was that experience like? Can you talk about that?
It was yeah, I guess the best way to describe it kind of was like Antoine Fisher, uh, because it was so long since I saw them all. Like I reconnected when I was 22. The last time I really saw them was when I was 11 years old. So it had been 11 years. And when you're that young, that's almost a lifetime. So it was kind of reconnecting with some folks I grew up with, people I grew up with, but they're older, grown now, and stuff like that. And for the most part, some things connected just fine with my older nieces and nephews. You know, we picked up where we left off, talking shit to each other, hanging out. Now we can go to the club because we've grown and stuff like that. I think the hardest person to reconnect with, was my oldest biological sister and my biological mother. My biological father, it wasn't too hard because I, I really hadn't had much contact with him. And it's kind of crazy because I wear his name. So, I mean, I have his name. His name is Lornett. It's just Lornett B. Senior. I was Lornett B. Junior before I got adopted. So, and yeah, he from what I know, he was a double OG, triple OG on West Side Chicago. From what my sister tells me, he he was, they called him General Blue and everything like that. So I had a very different life trajectory when I was adopted. I had a grandma named Lula Jean Patton, and she was an old school grandma. One of the older ladies that the Game Boys come around, and they, no matter how big and tough you are, you taking off your hat, you saying yes man, no man to her, and if you don't, she might handle you. And and I talk about she might handle you because my mom told me about some of her younger days when she wasn't saved and sanctified. So chasing grandpa down the street with a meat cleaver, so, and having that pistol in her purse. So my grandma was the biggest gangster I knew. So I was like, I can't join no gang. My grandma killed me. So I didn't get involved into the street life.
If your dad was triple OG, your grandma was quadruple OG.
Exactly. So when I reconnected with him, we talked, and he just, hey, it's nice to, see you again, son, and all this. But I saw my sister Lynette, who, is I guess, he had her before he had me. So she's my older sister also, but we don't share the same mother. We share the same father. And she spent a lifetime trying to reconnect with him, and she's just always been disappointed, even in her 40s, just kind of trying to reconnect with them and just kind of being constantly disappointed. And I don't want to set myself up for that. So I was like, he wasn't trying to be in my life. I'm not going to try to force a relationship. And it was just that. Well, my biological mother is a bit tougher because she was always around. Despite her having some mental health challenges, and realized as an adult that was the reason why I ended up in foster care. But she did have moments of clarity. And I asked her about, like, hey, I had to be in foster homes. It wasn't the best. I mean, I think that mirrored my reasons why I didn't want to have kids. It wasn't because I didn't think I'd be a good father or I wouldn't be able to provide for them, but life happens, and unfortunately, something could happen to me. Now that's just the reality. I could get in a car accident. I could die. I could become permanently injured. Become a vegetable. Who knows? This is all hypothetical. I mean, that stuff could happen now. And I had uncles and aunties too on the biological side, and none of them took me in. I ended up in foster care, and I ended up adopted. So I was very fortunate, especially to be a 12-year-old Black boy getting adopted. That's not really the case. People want the little babies. They want the little kids. They want little kids, not 12-year-olds. By that age, you damn near grown. You need to get a job. So I get real lucky in that respect. But kind of it wasn't easy. It wasn't a pleasant childhood experience. I wouldn't want any child to go through that. And it's not to say that there aren't good foster homes out there and good people, but I experienced really good foster homes, but I also experienced pretty terrible foster homes and the shelters that they have the kids in, or group homes, whatever you want to call them, when I was a kid. Those are some of my earliest memories, and they're not fond memories either. So it shaped my opinion. So when I reconnected with my biological family and I sat down with my mom to talk to her about my past, she kind of was like, hey, I had to do what I had to do. And, my sisters were kind of making excuses. Oh, our mom, she's not all there. She has a struggle. She has schizophrenia. So I'm like, look, she said that with a clear mind, very lucid in that moment. She just said she had to do what she had to do. And she had me when she was 30. So it wasn't like she was a teenage mom, or she was a grown woman. She's exactly 30 years older than me. So when I turn 39 next July, she'll be 69. So that was tough. And it kind of shaped our relationship from there. So I wish I could have a better relationship with her. But I kind of always come back to that conversation. So
like, how many siblings do you have altogether?
8 sisters, 3 brothers, if I combine both families.
Okay, so it's 12 of you all?
Yeah, but it's 2 different, biological and adopted. So but I just consider them both family. So
Okay.
it was complicated for when my wife came around. She's like, hey, how many people you know? How many all these people in your damn family? And then, her family is Arkansas, and they're a bit more reserved. And both my families are from Chicago or Chicago adjacent. So they're loud. We roasting each other. It's shit talking. All this type of stuff. Everybody, from the oldest down to the youngest. So she's like, there's a lot of people. There's a lot. She's more like, have a quiet evening and chill and relax, watch a movie or something, have a cider. And even her family's like that. There's drama in her family. It's drama in everybody's family, but her family moves a little different. They're a family of introverts. I get extroverted, outgoing, loud family. Both of them. They like to drink and get their party on.
So how long have you been married now?
5 years, almost.
What would you say you've learned from yourself since you've been a married man?
I think it's like marriage isn't just the final destination, like getting married. Because I think single people or people who are looking to get married think like, oh, once you get married, that's it. Everything's good from there. And it's fucking not. It's not at all. It's a constant negotiation and struggle. You gotta, and there's good time, and there's gonna be good days, and there's gonna be bad days, and there's gonna be days where so and so's getting on my nerves. I can't stand them, and vice versa. It's the one days I love this person so much, but it's a constant negotiation and reevaluating things, like where you are in life, where you're at in your career, where you're at with finances, fixing up the house, building a life together. So I know people just kind of see that destination, see a nice big wedding day and dress and the pomp and circumstances, but that's the fun part of it. Well, unless you're paying for all that, then that's not so fun. But but that's the easy part, the wedding day and all that stuff. It's the work that comes after that. And I had to learn a lot about kind of what my expectations was too. And how do I become a better husband and not screw up? And if I do screw up, kind of give myself room to forgive myself, but also try not to, hurt my wife. And that's never easy because, sometimes you get mad and you might say something, or you might do something unintentionally that, might make them upset, or you might forget something.
What do you feel like you've learned from your, I guess your biological father and your adoptive father about being a husband, either directly or indirectly?
Well, I say indirectly, just kind of being there for your wife, or just being there for your family. even though my relationship with my father wasn't always great when I was younger, he worked every day. He worked hard. He was, you know, and he supported the family. Um, I got a brother-in-law, same thing, married to my older sister. Today is their 23rd anniversary, 23rd anniversary, or yesterday was. Same thing, gets up every day and goes to work. And I guess unintentionally I took that from them because my mom always reminds me once when I joined the military and I was about to get out, she was like, "Oh, you come live with me." And she's like, she told me this story. I forgot the story even happened. She was like, I guess I told her, "No, man, don't go live with their mama after they've been on their own. I'll be fine. I'll figure it out." And I guess I did because I haven't stayed with my parents since I was 17. So they're more likely to come stay with me when I get older than when they get older than the vice versa. But I don't know how my wife and mom would get together. They lived in the same house. My mom loves her, but the in-laws living with you, that could be a different story.
Yeah.
You know how I don't know if none either you two are married, but the in-laws they always have some issues with the wife because it's like she's not good enough for you, all this stuff, but she thinks she this and that. Why you get her? You could have got someone else. I'm like, y'all should be happy. I married a sister. Because my nieces and stuff, my family up in when they moved to Wisconsin, my sister Kathy, my older sister, moved her family to Wisconsin after I left back when I was 11, and they ended up in Wisconsin. So they grew up in a very much white area. So all the black folks they went around, and as my nieces get older, one of the things they saw was like all the black dudes dating white girls. And I came back in their lives and I was older in my 20s and stuff. I was like, well, y'all go to Chicago, plenty of brothers there. Brothers got their stuff together. You ain't got to just be in Madison. But it kind of shades things. But at the end of the day, it don't matter who I married, someone they would have found some flaw with it. And it always gonna be some conflict with at least one or two of the in-laws. But it's not everybody. Most of the family loves my wife. But I that's another thing I didn't know about when you get married. That component right there, the in-law situation. Luckily, her family has no issue with me.
That you know of.
That I know of. They might tell her, like, hey, Lornett, he talks too damn much. I say that on Facebook.
Right. Say it to my face.
I say that on Facebook.
Right. I gotta let you know, man, I'm a divorced man myself. I didn't have any issues with like in-law. It was more between me and her. Yeah, the in-laws weren't really a problem. Yeah, recently, her mom just passed recently, so.
Oh wow! Sorry to hear
that. Yeah, she was great. Like she's real nice, and she made a real big impact on me from the time I met her. But yeah, I can understand when you get married, you kind of just think about you and your spouse, your wife, but there's so many other layers to the onion. Once you start peeling back. So, what would you say? Because you mentioned before that your wife is an environmental lawyer, right? So, how did you meet her? Like, what was your origin story with her, and how did knowing her impact you with your current role?
That's a lot, but we met like most millennials, online dating. So, okay, Cupid. What's so funny though is we almost didn't meet. So I used to work at Chicago Public Schools back in 2010, 2011, 2012 in 125 North Clark Street. I don't even think they're at that building anymore, but at the time they were. And I started working at someplace else, but they had this place called Argo T. And I was like, our first time, we talked a little bit online, and I called her, after that, because, you don't want to be talking to someone online for like 8 months. I didn't do online dating like that. I ain't going to be, we don't talk forever. Like, I want to know if I'm getting catfish. We got to meet quick, fast, and hurry, and meet in a public place. So if you're crazy, I can just, run out the bathroom window and be on my way. But this is not a dating show, so we can't talk about our dating horror stories. That might be for another show.
Part two.
But yeah, part two. So I said Argo T, downtown Chicago, and I didn't say the address. I said Argo T because I thought it was only Argo T. So I'm waiting there. It's like 6. We said 6 o'clock. It's like 6:15. I'm like, man, I'm got to get stood up. I don't see nobody here. Nobody that I would be on a date with. So I was like, oh, all right. So I'm about to leave, and then I get a call, and it's her, my wife. And she's like, hey, I kind of don't appreciate this. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's like, I've been on ROT for like 15 minutes. And I was like, wait, what you talking about? You've been on ROT for 15 minutes. I've been at Argo T for 15 minutes. So like, you're tripping. She's like, no, I've been at Argo T. And that's when it quickly hit me because I went to the guy at the counter. I was like, y'all got another location? Like, yeah, we do. We have one on Michigan Avenue. I was like, oh, goddamn. Because I was trying to be different. I didn't want to say let's meet at Starbucks because it's like 80 Starbucks downtown Chicago, like in every city. So, but we did end up meeting at Starbucks on Jackson Street at DePaul University. And the rest is history. We had coffee, and then coffee ended up being drinks and dinner. And then drinks and dinner ended up being the second date, third date. And now we met with a house in Atlanta. And how she got me into this work. Well, she actually did get me into this work. So she was an environmental law attorney. She was working at a firm in Chicago. Got a great opportunity down here in Atlanta. Came to work at this firm, and I took a leap of faith and came with her. I had a job in Chicago. I was working for a nonprofit organization. Yeah, I love the students I was working with. It was just everything else I wasn't feeling. They were underpaying me. I was putting in a lot of work. I mean, I had turned down, weekends were, working on weekends, turning down dates, just trying to, be the company man. I was a young professional and just thought, I just had to push and go and like set an example for the students. But at the end of the day, you got to know your worth. So I threw deuces, came down to Georgia on a leap of faith. And that was the first time I was living together. So that was a whole experience of, kind of living with your boo versus kind of just having your own space. And, y'all come together when y'all come together, but you can go your own step away. And when I got down here, I was trying to get back into education because that's what I did prior to working with veterans. I was working in education. So like I said earlier, I worked for Chicago Public Schools. Then I worked for this nonprofit that was an educational program for young adults aged 18 to 24. And I had done that for since I've been out of grad school. When I got out of the University of Chicago with my social work degree, I've been doing that. So I was trying to get into jobs like that down here in Atlanta and just wasn't having any luck. And she suggested, Lornett, why don't you look at some environmental organizations? They really looking to hire veterans. And I was like, they don't want to deal with no dumbass veterans. You crazy girl, talking about. So, 2 months turned to 3 months, 3 months turned to about 4 months, and still no luck. I'm applying for jobs every day. I'm lucky to live in Atlanta. It's nice. So I can get to go on walks outside. We had lived in an apartment complex, had a little pool. So, that was cool. But it was kind of like, I'm not working. I ain't got money. Money's tight. She's supporting both of us. I'm kind of like, feeling the pressure, not from her, but just kind of like myself, being like, man, I ain't trying to live off, my girl or nothing like that. I ain't that type of dude. I have my own stuff. So about, 5 months, no luck with the job market. I finally thought about what you told me, and I was like, all right, let me look. And Sierra Club was hiring for a military outdoors coordinator. Submitted my application, interviewed, and got the job. So the moral of that story is, all the husbands out there, listen to your wife on the first go round. I should have just listened in the beginning, but you live and you learn.
So you say your wife is from Arkansas?
Yep.
Okay. And she was working at a firm in Chicago. And that's how she got to Chicago? Or like, was she in Chicago before she started working there?
No, she got a law degree from University of Iowa. She had spent many years out there in Iowa because she was also, before she got a law degree, she was getting a PhD in English, but just ended up saying screw that and just got a JD. And she was looking to go back to Philly because she had did an internship there when she was in law school. And it was between Philly and Chicago. And she was kind of like, if I got to stay in the city that's cold, I might as well stay in Chicago. No disrespect to Philly. Philly's nice, but she was just like, hey, I want to live in Chicago. So I think she made the right choice, because if she didn't, we would have never met.
Oh yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. And maybe my family would be extra mad at me. No, they're like, I know you're going to end up with a white girl. Oh. I like Malcolm X and the Black Panthers, so I don't know what white girl I'm gonna end up with. She would have had to be down.
You'd have been like the guy on I'm gonna get you, sucker. Remember?
Oh no, I flirted with Hotepness when I was in my early 20s, but then when I realized those brothers was like dating more white girls than a little bit, I was like, y'all some hypocrites. And then they would be like, I'm just trying to do what the white man did to our women. Fuck them. So I was like, man, that's misogynistic and kind of fucked up. So I had to cool on that. So I was like, look, I like all women, whatever they gotta be cool. But the Midwest, if you're dating up there, especially if you're dating interracially, you have to deal with people's kind of racism. I mean, I think it's funny when like it's Black people who date like other colored people and they be racist. Cause I'm like, these white people don't like y'all either. Cause I got a homeboy my homeboy from the Navy, he married a Mexican lady up in California. And they've been together for they're 20 plus years. And he took him years to earn, to get good with her family. And I'm just like, white people don't like y'all either. So I don't know how y'all come here thinking y'all better than us.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
So walk me through a day in the life of what's your role with helping veterans outdoors? Like, what do you guys do?
Well, we do lots of stuff. So,
Yeah.
Well, one of our main goals is just kind of do outdoor adventures. And so I've done events where we're on the river for like 3 days to a week. I've done events where we're just kind of walking on the Atlanta Beltline. And the Beltline is just an outdoor space, green space in Atlanta. They took railroad tracks that are no longer being used in the city, paved over them, and turned them to like an open walking space. And there's like businesses in neighborhoods along the Beltline and like art and stuff like that. And it connects throughout the city. So I've done things like that. We've done day hikes to Stone Mountain, Georgia, day hikes up in Sweetwater Creek Park. I've been out west to those rivers, the Green River in Utah. It just kind of, or out here in the East Coast, on the Southeast, the Chachuga River, where they filmed that movie Deliverance. I don't watch that movie if you're about to go on a river trip, because you're like, I ain't going. It ain't like that, I promise you. That's a movie, and it was like in the 70s, so that's a long time ago.
It was a time pass. Right?
Time passed, I mean, I hope it's a time. I've been out that way, so ain't nothing like that happened to me. So, but everybody's different, so just be careful, be wary. But that's kind of what we do. And what our program does is we train the veterans to be outdoor leaders. So the vets themselves can lead whatever type of trips they want to. So if they want to go fly fishing, regular fishing, they want to go hike up a mountain, they can do that. If they just want to kind of meet up and do yoga in the park, they could do that too. So it kind of depends on what the volunteers want. I just led all type of trips. So I've been skiing, whitewater rafting, probably gonna go ice climbing this winter. We did dog sledding, snowshoeing.
It sounds like if and when you ever have kids, man, you're gonna have like a lot of things to do, like a lot of daddy-daughter or father-son type trips or experiences.
Yeah, we will go to all the national parks or something like that.
Yeah.
Just if you do go to the national parks, don't get too close to them. Those buffalo, they're not nice. They'll mow you down. And I think the biggest animal I've seen on this ever in real life was a damn moose, because we were in Wyoming, Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and I was in a lift. It was an Escalade lift, because it was like a whole group of us. And I looked on the side of the window, and there's a moose right there, and the moose is bigger than the damn Escalade. So that's not an animal you want to see.
Yeah,
I was lucky I was in that car. I was like, we need to drive off. This thing is huge.
They had the big antlers and everything. Like,
Yeah, it was a male moose.
Yeah.
The thing was huge.
yeah, like I guess the rack or whatever, like the antlers can be like 10 feet across. Have you heard that? Or 8 feet or something like that?
Oh, they're some of them across the thing. The animal was huge. It wasn't small by any means of the imagination.
Was it like seeing a dinosaur or something?
Nah, it's a moose. It's just like seeing it's like a big ass super deer or something like that. I mean, they only look like deer. They got their weird face. I don't know how you compare it. I don't know. It was almost like an elephant, but not.
They put the deer in the Captain America machine, then the moose came out. Something like
Exactly. It's like a mutant. It's like a mutant super deer or something like that. And they also mean too. They'll fuck you up too. And I'm like, this ain't just walking to town. This big ass thing. Now Atlanta's kind of country. Now we do have every blue moon in this city. There's always a herd of goats that gets out, because people down here will hire. They got companies that will, if you don't want to cut your yard, if it's fenced in, you can bring a herd of goats and they'll eat your yard. Meaning they'll eat your yard and like trim it for you. And also we got this invasive species called Kezi, and that grows over everything. So you can bring in a thing of the herd of goats and they'll eat everything. But every now and then people's fences aren't secure, so the goats will just get out and you'll just have goats running through the city. Like a Tony Baker video or something. Look at who you came. We the ghosts now. So that was the most country shit I saw when I came down to Georgia. And then I went on one of our outdoor trips, and then it was a camp that was run by this Army veteran named Greg, and he had shot a rattlesnake because it was about to get his dogs, and he's like, we ain't gonna let this rattlesnake go to waste, so they cooked it. So that's probably the most southern thing I've ever done is eat some rattlesnake.
Tastes like chicken.
How'd it taste?
I don't taste like chicken. It's more like fish, or oily like fish. It was interesting to say the least. But they cooked the goddamn rattlesnake. I mean, it must have been a big one too, because it was a pretty big piece on the grill. So I was like, this is probably the most southern thing I ever did. He did a low country broil, and then on the side of that, he had some had a rattlesnake.
How do you season a snake? You use like salt and pepper, it's kosher salt.
I just barbecue it just like you barbecue everything else. I'm not gonna argue with the locals.
Lornett, I know we getting close to time, man. I have one more question for you. If you can go back to your like 18, 19-year-old self, I know you talked about the generation gap. Well, the way that the generations view each other. Like, what type of advice would you give yourself, your 18-year-old self?
I would tell my 18-year-old self not to doubt yourself. Be confident in who you are. It's kind of crazy to think about it, but at 38 years old, I'm way more confident than I ever was at 18 and sure of myself. And also, I'm not afraid to learn something or make a mistake. Where when I was at that age, you didn't want to look bad in front of people and your peers and all that, and you think that matters. But when you get older, you realize that it doesn't really matter. So just be yourself, try to fit in and just be yourself and be confident in who you are. So don't doubt yourself, second guess yourself.
Okay, good stuff, man. Good stuff.
And my last question for you, Lornett, I already kind of asked it already. You gave me a real good answer, and I'll read it to you. It was, what does fatherhood mean to you? And Lornett, you said fatherhood means taking care of your responsibility and raising your children to be their own person. A good father is there for their family and tries to set a good example. A good father can admit to their mistakes and failures, show their children that that's a time in life when you grow the most. So can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah. I got, so fortunately, I'm not a father myself yet, but I have obviously has an adult. You know, I got a lot of friends that are fathers, and they're good fathers. And I get mad because how the mainstream society, you know, pushes like black men and take care of their kids and all that stuff. And even Obama will come out there and be like, yo, take care of your kids, pull up your pants, be a man. You know, it's like, look at Obama, just because your daddy wasn't shit, don't mean that all the brothers ain't brothers to take care of their kids. So there's a lot of good fathers I know, friends of mine, family members. And I think the best, any advice, you know, I'm not a father, but I think my idea of what a good father is someone who just is taking care of their business, but also is not afraid to be vulnerable with the kids. You know, don't, you know, your little son hurts himself and they start crying, you don't tell him to man up. Like, you know, they're a kid. They're like 3 years old. That they don't know what man up means anyway. And, you know, be a little vulnerable. Show you don't have to be the stoic type all the time. I'm thinking those stereotypes are kind of breaking down. So you can tell your kids that you love them. You tell them that you care for them. And if a brother like Dwayne Johnson, who's, you know, 250 pounds of muscle, 6'3", playing tea time with his little daughters, you know, you're not too manly to do that. Be there for your daughters, be there for your sons. If your son doesn't want to play football or basketball, that's fine. If he's into, like, you know, I want to be playing video games, or I'm into cheerleading, you know, you might think, man, that's weird or something. Or like, I want to do karate. Like, you know, encourage your kids to explore the options, and don't be like that. I regret when my nephew was 12 at the time. He wanted to see Disney on Ice, and I was like, you 12? Why you want to go see Disney on Ice? And I kind of an asshole thing to say as his uncle, because that's what he liked, you know. And, you know, let a child have their childhood. I mean, when I was 12, I was still playing with toys too, like the X-Men toys and all that stuff. So, and watching Power Rangers. So who am I to judge if my nephew at 12 years old wanted to watch Disney on Ice? And anyway, the lady who they had playing Pocahontas and Cinderella was fine. So I enjoyed that part of the show myself. So I take that back. So don't encourage your kids to like what they like. Even if a kid grows up and they growing up, they little kid and they like to watch Chucky movies. Just watch the Chucky movies with them, or the Michael Myers movies with them. Don't be like, that's weird. Don't crush your dreams. The world's gonna do that enough, unfortunately.
Yeah, I tried to get my kids to watch the old Power Rangers, man. They didn't go though, man. It was like the graphics didn't look too good.
Oh, like this is
don't
boring.
worry about the graphics, man. The story is great though, man. To get into the story, it's a good story, man. The White Ranger, come on, man.
Oh, the Green Ranger, then he turned to the White Ranger. Yeah,
the Green
he was
Ranger,
bad,
yeah.
and then he was good.
Right.
Although the old one taught kids racism from an early age. The Black Ranger was actually a black guy, and then the Yellow Ranger was the Asian girl. I'm like, man, I think about that as an adult. You're like, man, that was racist.
Right. The Blue Ranger.
And the Pink Ranger was a girl.
Right.
Well, they reevaluated. They tried to do something different with the new movie that came out. Made the Black Ranger. The Black Ranger wasn't actually black, and then the black guy on there was kind of nerdy, but he listened to country music and was a computer scientist. So they tried to redeem themselves. They even had one that was like gay. So I was like, all right, you know, look at them evolving with the times.
Progressive Power Rangers.
Yes, progressive Power Rangers.
Hey, Lornett, you ever think about doing comedy or like stand up?
Oh, well, nah. I mean, I never thought about stand up because I always think that's like the hardest job in entertainment, because you had to get up on stage and entertain the crowd full of people. And we know how black folks are. If you ain't funny, they'll boo you off the stage, like it's Showtime at the Apollo. But I have done some improv in my lifetime. I took classes at IO Theater up in Chicago. And they came down here, did some village theater. My wife can't get into it. She's just like, this is corny. But that's because my wife is an a-hole. But I love her anyway. Don't let your wife crush your dreams. I'm just joking. But nah, that's the only type of comedy I've done, improv.
Oh, I think you'd be good at it, man. You definitely have comedic timing. I could definitely see you on stage somewhere if you want to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe that'd be my second career, because you know, we live in America, we ain't gonna be retiring. I don't think no Social Security gonna be left for our asses when we get old. And like, it's all gone. I'm like, damn.
Right. You gotta get this.
I'm be a Walmart greeter when I'm 80. Welcome to Walmart. I don't like this company. They ain't even paying me enough.
Yeah, well, this has been great, Lornett, man. This is another one of my favorites, man. We on a good string of good episodes, man. Dr. Young, what would you think, man? Another Hall of Famer? What you think, man?
Oh yeah, I would say so. I would say so.
We're gonna hang it up in the rafters, man. What's your jersey number? If you had a jersey number, what would that number be?
You know what I'm saying, man. You know what I'm saying, 23.
There you go. Like Mike.
Like Mike.
We like LeBron, man, with the he did let that go, man.
Yeah, LeBron, yeah. Well, at least Mike did let his go. So
Right.
I had to let it. I don't want to be walking around here like Stephen A. Smith, so I had to shave it off. I was like, I can get locks, but it ain't going. In a couple of years, I'm gonna be like one of them brothers that had the locks just around his head, and then it's just like a bald spot up there.
Right.
I didn't want to be like that. So I'm like,
one ponytail on the back.
Yeah, be like Stevie Wonder or Hulk Hogan. No, I didn't want to be like that. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just go bald with the beard. So, you know, we got to keep up the Royce bearded ball club, you know, the double B's, you know what I'm saying?
There you go. Let's get it.
You know, my wife say I look basic. Ain't that something? She's like, you look basic. I thought I can have all locks and stuff like that, you know, with the beard, stuff like that. You know, my hair ain't working that way.
I just get compared to every bald and bearded black guy that looks like me, like the Suge Knight comparisons. Like I get all that, man. So comes with the territory, man.